How come my name's on this?
The 9 Years Podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to the 9 Years Podcast with myself, Nick Draper, and my co-host, Stuart Deakins. Episode 78 of the show this week, and the number 78 reminds me of our unbeaten league run, our record, national, worldwide record, I'm not sure, but Stu, do you have any particular highlights from that incredible 78-game unbeaten league run, which stretched from, 2003 through to 2004?
Now you put me in a spot. No, not really. I remember how it ended at the place that is obviously Bromley's home, which was Cray, wasn't it? It ended at Cray, if I remember properly.
Cray Wanderers, yes.
Cray Wanderers.
Sam Wood scored that day. Have I got that right?
You could be right. He was around that area, wasn't he? But no, I can't remember too many from. I think I remember very much as he got closer to the record, the interest from the media. That's probably one of the first time we got some media interest. Not the first time, but back in the sort of non-league days once the initial rush went. But I remember how it ended, but I can't remember too much of the games in between. What about yourself?
Just yourself, really. I remember that Cray game going into it. I think it was the first week of December, knowing that we were going to lose that day for a variety of reasons. I think we had a lot of injuries at the time. Interesting how we lost the record at Hayes Lane, but we actually set the record, or broke the record at Hayes Lane as well, with a draw against Bromley, if you remember correctly. Yes, I
do. So we went there a few times, didn't we? It was a lovely place, isn't it? Of course, Bromley.
Lovely is not the word for it at all, nor would it be the word for Chesington Hook, which was another famous game on that run. 5-3 victory with about 18 sendings off. All kicked off that day. Incredible comeback, but anyway. There was quite the celebration that day. In fact, when we beat Chesington that day, I think for the final goal to give us that 5-3 victory, players jumped into the crowd and got away with it. What a novel idea.
Never. It should never be allowed to celebrate, Nick.
Not allowed to celebrate. On that note, do you want to get your top 7 list out of the way?
I can do. So I thought it was very topical this week with celebrations, or what should we call it? Excessive celebrations. So I sort of wondered, these celebrations, how would they be viewed now, I wonder. So these are my top all-time 7. I've not included any Wimbledon ones because we didn't really go that mad celebrating, really, but I couldn't think of any. So Marco Tardelli, the Italian, 1982, I think it was against West Germany. Stuart Pearce, the penalty shootout when he scored against Spain in Euro 86.
96.
How did I get 86? Crikey, 86 would mean I was... Oh, yes. Of course, it was 96. The Peter Crouch, the robot, which I think first started in one of the World Cup friendlies, if I remember properly, when he scored. Another one from the 96 Euro Championships, which was Paul Gascoigne in the dentist chair celebration. Jurgen Klinsmann, when he finally come into English football, when he scored away at Sheffield Wednesday, he done the Klinsmann dive. Alan Shearer, really, against anybody. I love Alan Shearer's celebration. It was just the most basic celebration, but I suppose one of the most trademark celebrations of his time. And then who can forget the most over-celebrated goal was Adebayor from Man City at home to Arsenal when he ran the length of the pitch to celebrate in front of his former fans.
I'd forgotten about that one, but thank you very much for reminding me. That was a great moment.
It was great. I did watch it back on YouTube as well, just to savour how bad it was.
And the angst and ire coming from the Arsenal end as he knelt in front of them all.
It was classic, wasn't it? I think he did get booked. And that was what I call excessive celebrations.
That would certainly count for excessive celebrations. Well, my top 7 list, a complete 180 from anything you do again this week. You know that WrestleMania is coming up, Stu. We're on the road to WrestleMania. It'll be here before we know it. So my top 7 list has a wrestling theme. I have done my top 7 AFC Wimbledon players that have met wrestlers.
Okay, I'm really interested to hear this.
Yeah, basically I've just merged wrestler names with players that used to play for us.
Of course.
So we have the obvious one to start with, which is Macho Man Reggie Savage. We also have Anthony Brett Hartigan, Rob Van Sam Hatton, Jerry the Shane Small King Lawler, Noel Frankumaga, Andy Sam Brooker T, and finally Andre the Giant Blackman.
Hey, this is Thompson, keyboardist for these fine gentlemen. And even across the pond, we're rocking along to the 9 Years Podcast.
We have so much to talk about this week, Stu. I really don't know where to begin.
What a week, eh?
Don't think we're going to forget this week in a hurry, are we?
No, I think it's one of those weeks where you can really, I think it's going to be etched in Wimbledon's folklore history for some of the wrong reasons, really.
Yeah, not for the best of reasons. So we're going to talk over the Coventry and Charlton games from the past week. We'll look ahead to the Shrewsbury and perhaps a little bit on the Gillingham game next week as well. All the usual features. And if we get time, because we might spend a long time discussing the previous week's goings on, I should say. If we do that, we'll get on to the idea of league restructuring, following my article in the programme for the Coventry game. But we shall start with the Charlton Coventry game. Coventry visited us on Valentine's Day, and with that in mind, Stu, I thought I'd write a little poem, a Valentine's Day poem, to describe the past week in AFC Wimbledon history.
Brilliant.
Now, of course, when people tend to write these poems, they tend to use the Roses Are Red template, don't they?
Yes.
And we're not going to be any different, because we do not want any sort of original idea on this show whatsoever. We have to copy everything we do. If we come up with an original idea, we'll just stop doing the podcast. It won't be as fun. But anyway, here is my poem for AFC Wimbledon. So, Charlton play in red. Cov should have been sky blue. We played poorly in both games, but in points we gained 2. Anything you'd like to add to that?
No, it's quite good. It's quite good. I quite like that.
Thanks.
I'm not very poetic, so.
Sorry, say again.
I'm not very poetic, so
Really?
not really. No, I'm not really.
I'm sure I saw you with a copy of Wordsworth the other day, just at half time there.
Yeah, you got no chance to see me with that. I'm more of a picture person. I was saying this to the guys, and when I was waiting on Tuesday night, I'm more programs. I don't really like to read them. I like the pictures. The pictures are better for me. Very simple.
Get your black and white copy so you can maybe colour them in next time.
No, I like the colour pictures. But I think pictures tell 1,000 words sometimes, and I just would rather look at a picture than read a story.
Okay, so on that note, do we want to start with a picture of Carl Robinson looking angrily towards a member of our staff as he's being held back by various other members of staff, including our management team?
Yeah.
What a mess that whole situation was.
Well, we could put quotes in his mouth, couldn't we, really? He was very quick to come out with his own quotes, of course, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? To make sure he painted a picture before we had a chance to get in there.
It's like we write this stuff. Imagine if we did script it. Imagine how good the podcast would be. But anyway, yes, you're quite right. So, Carl Robinson, let's get this one out of the way first, because it's a massive talking point over the last few days, the last week or so. Obviously, he felt that a member of AFC Wimbledon staff had said something inappropriate towards him as he was leaving the pitch following Saturday's draw. And didn't he want to let the world know about it almost immediately? By 5:30, I think it had hit all the major news websites. And then that carried over into the Sunday and then the Monday newspapers, painting us in quite a poor light. He was quoted as saying things such as he was appalled by what was said. He said it shows a lack of class, and certain aspects of it were disgusting. He really did go on the attack. And what did you make of our response to that?
Yeah, well, I thought the statement that come out from Eric Samuelson was excellent. My only worry was it come in terms of the timeline it come out. It's Eric does a great statement, doesn't he? Do you know what I mean? I'm just reading through it now, but he basically does bring to light. He paints the picture, which is a proper picture of he basically does say that it was held back before he could attack anybody. Do you know what I mean? It was like, fortunately, the steward was still present and aided by Neil Ardley and assistant manager Neil Cox. He was able to restrain Mr. Robinson from striking anyone. That was conveniently missed by Carl Robinson, wasn't it? When he got to the papers or he got to the press with that. The statement is very good. It does paint the picture. There's only one bit that really sort of gets under my skin, and I think both you and I and both felt it. I do understand it, but it was basically the statement which said that we went out of our way to make sure there was no trouble, and in that case, Neil Ardley, to reduce the hostile reception he got, was accompanied on the pitch by a steward. Obviously, he accompanied Carl Robinson. that frustrated me a little bit. I'd be truthful. I suppose the drama in me wants him to go out there and face the baying crowd on his own. I don't know why we did that. I suppose we were hell-bent on making sure we got no bad publicity, but in the end, we were still unable to avoid it.
We were unable to avoid it, as you say. I think Eric did a good job with the statement, as you said, on the Monday, but of course, by that time, the story had pretty much been and gone, hadn't it? In the eyes of the media, Carl Robinson had said his piece and got what he considered the main points out. So the other elements that Eric quite rightly pointed out in his report, including coin throwing from the Charlton fans, and the fact, as you mentioned, that Mr. Robinson, as he is referred to, had to be restrained from striking anybody. But my frustration was Sunday morning waking up, and I know I probably, and apologise, put you in a bad mood on Sunday morning as well with my reaction. But it was a case of we were the ones in the firing line, considering, as you say, what I've just said, considering the coin throwing, considering that Charlton fans, having thrown a coin, then accused the linesman of lying about it. And then obviously all the nonsense with Robinson trying to get at one of our staff. It very much felt like it felt unfair. And while Eric did a very, very good job with his statement, making sure that those key elements were not forgotten, it still felt like come Sunday, come Monday, that we were the ones getting it in the neck and would continue to do so. Now, the other thing that frustrated me, as you say, further to that, was the element of Neil Ardley there being asked to help out a little bit by accompanying Carl Robinson to and from the bench to try and avoid any hostility. I think I understand it. I do understand it. I get the logic behind it. We have to be very, very careful. We don't want to get ourselves in any more trouble, or any trouble at all, really, do we? I suppose the club are thinking anything that goes wrong, we're the ones that get it in the neck. I'm assuming that the Charlton fan who threw a coin is going to be dealt with by Charlton, but we still get it in the neck as well, because it's our security, our policing arrangements for the game as well, isn't it? So I understand wanting to make sure that we come out of any, what's the word I'm looking for, difficult situation, hostile situation, with antagonistic situations with ex-players, managers, officials of a certain football club in Buckinghamshire. And again, when we do play that football club, we want to make sure we come out of those whiter than white and not have any problems. And were we stitched up by Carl Robinson? Did he go out of his way to make something happen when really there wasn't anything? Ignoring a certain banner that was displayed towards the end of the game, we'll brush over that one. I mean, that happened. I don't think we can really say or add anything to what happened there. But certainly the ending, it seemed convenient that Carl Robinson would find himself in that position. Yeah,
I think it's interesting. I think we were caught on a hop. I really do. You know, I don't. Even though we knew, we all would be for purposes that we called him Mr. Robinson. We knew he was coming. You know, he was going to be there. We knew it potentially could have a flashpoint. I think we got caught on the hop, really, and we never responded well to it after the game. I think, yes, we're breezed over the banner situation, but it wasn't I think there was a lot of accumulative things that happened, and in them probably last 5-10 minutes that resulted in what happened. So, one, yes, the banner did happen, and it did rattle Mr. Robinson. Two, we had the audacity to equalise, well, let's be fair, we hadn't done much in the second half. That rattled him. And also for the fact that for the third thing that's the second consecutive game, the consecutive games that he's lost points from winning positions. So they were 1-0 up against Fleetwood, lost a goal late on in injury time, and the same against us. So yes, of course he was under pressure. I think what didn't help us on Saturday was also that the referee decided to have an absolute stinker. We've come across a few referees recently that haven't, let's be fair, haven't given us the rub of the green that we'd like. And I think in the end that caught everything up, because I remember seeing the incident, and normally I would expect us to shepherd Mr. Robinson off the pitch. However, I think because the referee had such a stinker, the actual security that was in place went to the referee thinking that was the flashpoint, when actually then that released Mr. Robinson to be able to do a tour of the ground and then go into an area where there was people that unfortunately didn't like him. So I think I saw it. You know, Nick, you and I were both together in the stand on the side, and that whatever was said well in advance before he reacted. And I think he conveniently took an opportunity to react. and then knowing full well that the stewards are going to hold him back, and it caused a flashpoint. And it took conveniently away a little bit of that sting of him dropping points. And I wouldn't put it past him to have played the situation, because if someone's that unhappy, why are they out as quick as anything telling the whole world what happened?
I think you summed it up pretty much perfectly there. Not sure I can add anything. The only thing I would say then is we've got to think about what happened, and you've mentioned security arrangements and things like that. It's a little bit of a heads up for when the other particular club does come down to Kingsmeadow in about a month's time. And I understand, that recent games, Charlton was an example, Millwall was another recent example, a lot of the security arrangements in place around the stadium and on the pitch and everything was done as a sort of trial ahead of the franchise's arrival at Kingsmeadow. But there'll be even more on the evening. In fact, Eric Samuelson says in his programme notes, he doesn't even allude to it, he says it outright. So he's already attended 2 meetings with various people in regards to the security arrangements on the day, and there'll be another meeting as well before the day comes. He says the only time he can recollect holding even one meeting for security arrangement before this particular fixture was the Liverpool game, which is understandable in the extreme. So that shows you how seriously things are being taken. We have to really hope that nothing really bad happens on the evening. I don't think it's possible to avoid anything happening. It's totally out of the club's... Well, it's not out of the club's hand, but you know what I mean? If someone wants to do something stupid, someone's going to do something stupid. There's no way really of being able to 100% guarantee that game is going to pass off without incident. And I think we've noticed just from the arrival of one former employee the angst it creates and the ire it raises among supporters. So what some of our fans are going to be like witnessing that lot in the flesh, probably for the first time for a good number of people who won't travel up to their stadium. We have to really think collectively of somehow, as a fan base, really reining it in, because otherwise it could go very sour for us. And I think a lot of damage limitation has been done over the past few days after the Charlton game, and we don't want to be able to put in that situation again after the franchise game.
Yeah, and let's be honest. You know, we're all, you know, we're fans like everyone else is. You know, we've realised that the Charlton fixture was potentially not a dress rehearsal, because I think you can't have a dress rehearsal for a game against them, because and I stand by this, there's no other fixture, I don't believe, out there that has that hostility. I know you've got your Celtic Rangers, and that's obviously religion, and you've got your Arsenal Tottenham, which is territory in North London, and your Millwall West Hams, which is violence, and yes, they're violent, I'm not saying they're not, but I don't think there's ever been a fixture where of this emotion where it's been so long and people have avoided it. It's not a derby, it's not a grudge game, it's not, you know, we've said this before, if we win the game we're not going to go to work and bump into a franchise fan and go, oh, we beat your lot. It's not like that, because it's not a rivalry, it's not a derby. So we were worried that the Charlton game was going to be a sort of like this could be a little bit of it, but we didn't fail. I wouldn't say the club failed. I think the club done what they did or what they could, but of course there's things they're always going to learn from it, and I think we were caught on a hop by him. But we have got a lot to think about, I believe, going into the franchise game, and I think we have to be honest with this. Us as fans have our own individual responsibility to portray the club in the way that it is. It's a family club, and we need to make sure that we control our emotions, no matter how hard that is. We owe it, because ultimately we could... The bad press we got from the weekend on one incident that I didn't think was that bad, well, that could be times 10, times 20, Nick, couldn't it?
Yeah, and I think for the moment we should probably leave it there and park that one for the time being. We've got another month until the fixture, but I'm sure we'll be talking about it more in the lead up to it. As for events on the pitch, as I referenced in my poem, 2 points without playing well in either game whatsoever. I think we can pretty much take all the key events of both games into one big conversation.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, where do we stand at the moment? I'm concerned that we are going to have a really, really long, difficult end to the season. We are comfortable at the moment, but performances and the build-up of injuries at the moment worry me immensely. And I think the evidence of the last 3 games I've seen, I know Sheffield United, and I still maintain, look, as poor as a result it was, we were playing against a team that will be a championship side next year and probably could handle themselves quite happily in the championship right now. So we can maybe push that one aside a little bit, but certainly these 2 home games, they've been dire. I can't sugarcoat it. And Tuesday night was the worst of the 2 for me. Despite a very poor first half against Charlton, at least we improved in the second half. Coventry, we seemed to have no cohesion, no real plan. Nothing was happening for us, and we've got very, very lucky to get a point out of that game on Tuesday.
Yeah, I think we've done well to get anything out of the 2 games, I'll be honest with you. And Neil Harley, on his BBC London interview on Tuesday night, said as much. You know, you've got 2 games. I think he was very... Neil Harley doesn't sugarcoat much, you know. He said it how it is, and he didn't lie. We've been lucky. We're playing really poor. We're low on confidence. I think what concerned me from the Charlton game, when you go into it, and what was said afterwards, that we'd got a drubbing 4-0 at Sheffield United. And I echo exactly what you said about Sheffield United. I agree totally. But they said they'd work on the confidence, and then Neil Harley openly admitted after the game that it just went. Everything that they worked on and how he felt they were going to perform didn't happen, and he was sitting there dumbfounded about, you can't do, he's right, he always said, you can't do nothing. You set the players up and you expect them to do something. And I think the players have to take some responsibility for that. Neil Hardy can only set them up so much. I know there's been a little bit of in social media recently about Neil Hardy. Can he get his players fired up? He's getting motivated. That only works so much, that sort of side of it. But I'm just looking at the stats here, Nick, and I remember saying to you on Tuesday night that I could probably count the amount of goal attempts that we've had in both games in one hand. Well, I'm quite clever ones, because, yes, we had 2 shots on target against Charlton. Yes, 2 shots on target. And we had 3 against Coventry.
Add to the 2 we had at Sheffield United.
Yeah. But 2 home games where you're expecting the home team to be the dominant team. We have not made the keeper work on enough occasions, and that's the story, I feel.
But why is that? Like, for instance, against Coventry, we spent a lot of the time knocking a long ball into Tom Elliott, forgetting that Tom Elliott was suspended and wasn't playing. But surely we have enough quality in those front 3 anyway. So we had, what do we have on Tuesday? We had Bartram, Taylor and Don Polion.
Yeah.
Surely, with Sean Kelly and George Frankham as fullbacks, and I think Kelly had a very, very good game, got forward well when he could, or was attempting to get forward. I think George was doing the same. So why could we not find our way through? Like, what Coventry were set up defensively, of course they were, to break, and they kept their shape well, and they did. If they lost the ball, they got themselves back into shape very, very quickly. But surely you've got enough pace in those 3 to cause problems, enough trickery to cause problems.
Yeah. I think you have. You're right, you have. The biggest problem we've got is we have there at the moment, since the Sheffield United game, it's probably just not a Sheffield United game, but I think the Sheffield United game has tipped that confidence. But there's an anxiety amongst the players, and they're not now confident to trust that they can. If you look at the both games, I would probably struggle to think when we've played a penetrative ball, a ball we've played sideways balls, Tuesday night. Robertson to Kelly, safe ball, playing Tom Sawers in the midfield with no one on him. Coventry backed off. They didn't need to engage in them areas, but I can't remember when we actually played a penetrative ball that basically opened up a gap. We was too scared to play that ball. Our safety ball all night, and equally against Charlton, was the long ball. So if the ball was in a channel, knock it long, try and get a header. And on Tuesday night, it kept coming back too quickly. We didn't have that retention. So Coventry dropped off. Coventry didn't allow us to play the ball in behind because they knew that's where our danger was. We didn't want to play in front of them. We didn't have the confidence to go past the player. And what it resulted in was probably, I think we played direct football, but on Tuesday night, I said to you, I was really getting fed up because it was like I was watching tennis because my head was going from left to right, and the balls we played were just hopeful, lofted balls with nothing for the forwards to do. And I think the forwards had a thankless task. We just couldn't keep the ball.
my way of thinking then, should Tom Elliott come in, or eventually what happened against Coventry was that Tyrone Barnett and George Oakley both came on, I think with the intention that they would be the target men that would be able to hold the ball up, and then that's how you get your midfielders to up in positions where they can support. I'm guessing that's the plan. So do we, when Tom Elliott comes back in, do we benefit more from that approach? Do we, like we did, well, did we do it in both games? Do we switch to 4-4-2 in both? Is that what we look at doing from the start? And getting wide players and fullbacks linking up down the sides, and then one of your midfielders joining in. Like, the problem is, I think, for a lot of the time, especially on Tuesday night, was Jake Reeves and Tom Sawers. They like to get on the ball and make those forward passes. That's their game. They're not the ones that are going to be bursting into the box to get on the end of the cross, if you know what I mean, as a sort of a third man running in.
It's interesting you say that, because if we look at both games, I thought Jake Reeves had a shocker against Charlton. Everything he tries to do didn't come off. Couldn't have fought him for energy levels. His energy levels are always immense, but I just thought his whole end game on the Saturday was poor. Yeah, on Tuesday night I thought he was excellent and tried in a way to raid that team on his own. I worry when I hear Jake Reeves being the one that's geeing the players up and telling them to squeeze and push up, and because that doesn't need to happen from him. That should be coming from your senior pros, your Paul Robinsons, your Paul Robertson, even Shea, Danny Bullman, Lyle Taylor, those sort of people. But Tom, I do have the biggest thing that I worry about with Tom Sawers is we've bought Tom Sawers from Bury, who've had a horrible season, and we brought him into a team that's going on a bad patch of games. And it's just like he's gone from one bad team to another bad team. And the bloke looks like he is trying his hardest, but when nothing comes off, he's just like a deep sigh and that sort of thing of it. Formation-wise, I'll be honest with you, Nick, I couldn't work out what we were doing on both games. We kept mixing so much. I don't think we have the team to play 4-4-2. I don't know where your wingers are, if I'm being honest with you. Yeah. Fitzpatrick, he'd just come back from Torquay, so how much actual training did he have? I think we just set up to play 4-3-3, and I just don't think we're able to adapt. Teams have worked it out. Second round of games, teams know what to do.
Fitzpatrick and George Oakley came on against Coventry, chucked into a very difficult situation for the pair of them. It seems very strange that Fitzpatrick, having been absent, gets entrusted with trying to make things happen for us on the evening when perhaps others on the bench are not given, or haven't been given, the opportunity. Was it a slightly unfair situation to put the pair of them in? That said, George Oakley was putting himself about through the 20 minutes he was on, at least. Things didn't come off for him at all, but at least he was getting himself into position to try and make things happen. Tyrone Barnett, on the other hand, I'm just not even going to go there, actually. Leave him well alone, like he did the ball for these 20 minutes on Tuesday night. But, sorry, sort of got off point there. The point being, our young players then, that we're relying on now, because we're looking at that squad on Tuesday and we're without, well, list them. We're without Barry Fuller now, who shoulder injury against Charlton, he's out for 6 weeks minimum. Darius Charles, Dean Parrott, Chris Welkdale, Jonathan Meads. Take those players. It's like a third of your matchday squad that you've lost, players that would almost be first team starters. Therefore, that's how I guess Fitzpatrick gets his chance. But why is Alfie Egan not getting a chance all this time? On the bench every week. Not getting going. Tom Beer's gone out on loan now to try and get himself a chance.
Yeah, and I did make that comment, didn't I, to you? I was like, we've brought Fitzpatrick back from a loan at Torquay, a good loan spell at Torquay. George Oakley had a spell at Wedding, been out injured, he's been suffering injuries again. I like George Oakley, so I didn't have a problem actually with that side of it. But yeah, Alfie Egan's must be sitting there going, well, he is younger, of course he's younger than George Oakley and Fitzpatrick, but he's been sitting on the bench all year, and you'd have thought, give him a chance. Was it the right opportunity to bring him into a game like that? Well, we're never going to find out what Alfie's got, because we just need to keep protecting him. How long do you keep protecting him, really? And how is he going to be any better? Sorry, is he going to be any worse than what we have? Jake Reeves, yes, doesn't get in front of Jake Reeves, but Tom Sawers, did Tom Sawers have the right to go straight into a team? I don't know. Could Alfie have done that? I think he could have. Could we have bedded in Tom Sawers, because we signed him and we chucked him straight into a game where Sheffield United got spanked 4-0, and he's had 2 games which he hasn't really been able to demonstrate what he's like. And I think Tom Sawers is a good player, but I think he's low on confidence because he's been starting burial season. Injuries, yeah, worrying. Jonathan Meads, we think he's probably one of the best left backs in the league. Nothing against Sean Kelly. I think Sean Kelly's done very well and gets forward well, but Measy's might put a different gravy. I'm being truthful. Darius' leadership ability, both for the same. Chris Walkdale let down the season, is it? He's always injured. But then, did we know that? We knew that he was injured from Christmas time at Stevenage, and we still bought him. So was that just a buy that didn't work out? But yeah, there's loads of stuff. And Tom Beer's gone on loan. Could he have played? Possibly. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those, isn't it? There's so many things. Dave Fitzpatrick, I thought it was the right thing to bring him straight in. Had a great loan spell at Torquay, full of confidence. But how quickly is he going to get affected by the run of games we got at the moment?
It was a tough night to bring him into. There was no atmosphere on the evening. I think there was that air of expectancy that we're going to turn up and win. That doesn't help. And then when you don't start winning after 20 minutes and you get to half time, like you're saying, Coventry are looking at that game and they're doing it in stages, aren't they? They're doing it in quarter hours. Keeping the game. Now try and nick something. They did with the substitutions and they got ahead. Our atmosphere then turns. It did turn. It was a negative atmosphere at the end. And the celebration of the goal, for me, it was a celebration of relief. And we got rid of it was a release of a lot of tension over the course of that evening. There was no joy about getting that last minute equaliser. Very strange situation for Fitzpatrick to come back in on. Did we make a massive mistake, though, in January by not enhancing the squad in other positions? Or were we trying to and just unsuccessful? As you've mentioned to me, I say clubs around us, they're not quite around us just yet, but those bottom 6-7 teams all went out, all enhanced their squads, and we're now looking at problems in many areas. Right back, we have identified all season as being a problem in terms of having cover there. Centre half seems a massive problem because we've only got 2 fit centre halves at the moment.
Yeah, right. Obviously, Will Nightingale got some minutes, but we need to. We just can't. We can't afford to look short term. We've got to make sure he comes back properly because we're going to have this continuous thing. Yeah, do you know what? We didn't. I don't know what the strategy was in the window. We got our business done on the last possible moment, didn't we? With that, we may have been chasing him through that window. I know we were chasing him previously, as they said, isn't it? But we seem to have gone against the loans, and I sort of understand that. But would a few loans have helped us realistically? The window's shut now, so we can't do nothing. And we're now left with a situation with quite a few injuries. And one of the things that is interesting, we're relying on our kids, and I'm a big advocate of that because there was talent there. But George Oakley, I don't know about you, but I did have to feel for him on Tuesday night. Coming in, as you rightly said, the atmosphere was it was dead. It was anxious, probably not disbelieving. Lots of things, wasn't it?
Turnout as well. If you think we were just over 4,000 in total, 350 away fans.
But did you feel? I just felt a nervous energy. The nervous energy comes from the players. It has to because they set the tone. I know fans can, but we know from home games that the team set the tone for the fans. That's the way it's always been. If they start in that way, that tempo, we never did. But I just really felt for George Oakley because obviously he was waiting for about 2 or 3 minutes, and then of course they scored with Jones. It's a decent goal. Could we have saved it? Yeah, bit disappointed, but Shea's been brilliant this season, so I'm not going to pop it in for 1 goal. But then he comes on, and yeah, he looked an absolute bag of nerves, didn't he? What a situation to come into. And then you've got, no disrespect to Tyrone Barnett, but crikey, yeah, you called it. He made a couple of touches. One important touch because he somehow managed to get it to Paul Robinson for the equaliser. But yeah, Tyrone is just, I don't know. I'm losing faith that we've got a player that is going to really fight. Because at the moment, yeah, we're not likely to get caught into a relegation battle, but it could happen. And do you want a Tyrone Barnett in a relegation battle?
Something tells me he won't be with us next season. Whichever really? Division we are in, because although you mentioned relegation battle, well, we're 8 points clear. We have got a goal difference swing at the moment of 13, I think, from Bury, who were in the last relegation berth as it stands. But it's a big week coming up. It was a big week anyway. Massive missed opportunity to get 3 points against Coventry on Tuesday, and now we go into games against Shrewsbury, who are improving and only 4 points behind us now, and then Gillingham, who are also just 4 points behind us. So Well, we'll come on to those games later. I mentioned relegation battle there because that was one of our 3-word reports. Now, we've got a lot of things to catch up on with these, Stu. Man of the match votes and 3-word reports and all that. So let's get these out of the way now.
Man of the match? Did we do man of the match votes?
Somehow we cobbled together man of the match candidates.
Wasn't easy.
It wasn't easy, although I think the winners in both instances were fairly easy. We could have probably guessed who was going to win our votes prior to the vote taking place. Let's get the 3-word match reports out of the way. First, for Charlton, addicted to Tom from M. Sturgy Boy at Dummy Out the Pram. And then Marky Womble at Marky Womble. Fork off Carl. We had to mention it. Had to go in there. For Coventry, we had Don's Robbo Point from Ed Hewison at Ed Hewison. And relegation battle begins. There we go. That came from Tom Brown at Tom Brown 91. He's getting on a bit, isn't he? Blimey. I think for Charlton, on those, I should say, we had lots and lots. We had lots and lots of both. So thank you very much for all of those. Remember, look out for those after each and every game. # Don's 3-word reports. For Charlton, we had a lot of references to Mr. Robinson, of course. Coventry, we were fairly downhearted. And in fact, on social media, as a rule, we were downhearted. Lots going on our Facebook page, lots of comments on goings-on, especially regarding the Coventry game. I think Ian Robinson summed up a lot of feelings, saying that we looked totally clueless for most of the match. He's worried we don't have a plan B, and things have gone wrong for us, which is true. And that seems to be echoed amongst a lot of our supporters. I think Gary Fletcher said the way we are playing currently, looking at the 3 games we've mentioned, Coventry, Gillingham, Shrewsbury, didn't see us beating any of them, and actually predicted we'd get 3 points out of the game, so 3 draws is the best we could hope for. So our fans at the moment are not the most confident, clearly, as we've mentioned, transpiring through the pitch, but you can have your say on our Facebook page as well as our Twitter 3-word reports with your thoughts on man of the match votes. As I start to ramble horrendously, Charlton, Tom Elliott won that with 60% of the vote, Jake Rees 20%, Lars Hayler 12%, and James Shea with 8%. Coventry, at time of recording, I think there's about an hour left, but Jake Rees has won this vote. He's got over 50% of the vote, 53% when I last checked. Paul Robinson, purely for his goal, I imagine, 25%. Tom Sawers 12%, and George Francombe 10%. There is one last little bit of business about Tuesday night's game, actually, Stu, that we have to get out of the way.
Okay.
You know what's coming. Coventry City.
You just made the list!
Because I know, and even this season especially, Coventry's kit is sky blue. It does not clash with our blue. And actually, if you look at their kit this season, it's predominantly white. And, to make things worse, they played on Tuesday in their red and black kit, which they'd worn up at Oldham on Saturday. So there can be no excuses about wear or tear or travelling with the kit, trying to get it ready in time. They just thought they'd play in a change kit for no reason. So I'm sorry, Coventry, you are indeed on my list of change kit shame. Joining Bradford, Port Vale and ourselves. I've stunned you there, haven't I, Stu? Should we get a 2-word tango to try and lighten the mood a little bit?
You were, sorry, I was just looking at the form table. It's really bad, isn't it? You sort of go to a stage, but I'm just looking at possible teams that can catch us, and yeah. There's only one that can win, from what I look at, if you look on current form, and that is Oldham, who are serial relegation biters.
But they're out of the relegation place as it stands, are they not?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at, so we've got Coventry, Swindon, Chesterfield, and one other. Bury. I just don't. It's really weird. This shows you my knowledge of the bottom 4, because I've rarely looked this season, but it's that nervous look over your shoulder, isn't it, at the moment? Absolutely.
Following that Peterborough game, the best half of football I've ever seen an AFC women's side play ever, and we're thinking of top 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's scrap that. Let's just get to 50 points. And go from there.
Do you know what? I thought 50 points would probably be there by the time we played that certain team up in Buckinghamshire, but at the moment I can't see it. I don't see it at all. That's 4 weeks away, isn't it? So yeah, we've got a lot to do to get to 50 points, but I would at the moment bite your hand off for that at the moment.
Absolutely right. Let's do a 2-word tango.
Yes.
Should we do something completely different? How about, I was thinking about this earlier, how about we just list ex-Coventry City players? or something like that. Just to
Okay,
mix it
let's
up.
go. Yeah, let's go for that. Let's go for that.
This is going to be terrible because I don't really know any, but I'll go first.
Okay.
All right. I know. Do you know what though? I'm going to write down a name here of the first name I think you're going to choose. It's not going to be the one that I say, but I'm already positive I know what it is. But anyway, let's have a go.
The thing is, let's just very quickly before we start. You know full well that we're going to have those players in our head that we know are bankers, and the moment one of us pick those bankers, we're going to crumble.
We are going to crumble. And just be clear there, the word you used was bankers.
Yes, there's a few others that maybe rhyme with those, but yes. So former Coventry players, so we can't pick current Coventry players.
I don't really know any other than Yakubu. And I know we only played them on Tuesday, but I couldn't remember any names, to be honest.
I know quite a lot of them.
Foley, because he used to play for Luton, I think.
So just to clarify, we could possibly use current players.
You could, but if you've got a copy of the programme with you, then that's true.
I'll put that away.
There we go. Right, let's get going.
Gotta listen out for this guy. It's a famous name, but don't clap. Something like Sebastian Coe. Celebrity 2 words, tango.
John Hartson.
Gary McAllister.
Robbie Keane.
Peter and Love.
David Boost.
Steve Agusovich.
Dion Dublin.
Cyril Regis.
Keith Houchin.
Brian Burrows.
David Burrows?
I'm lost. I can't think.
Oh, do you know what?
I can't think of any more.
No, that was really difficult. And if I was to listen, or I will be listening back to that, I'm sure we probably had a repetition in there or something, or someone who's not played for Coventry. That was really difficult. I was just about to get, I think, Noel Whelan.
Noel Whelan did. I was thinking like people like Paul Cook as well. Like the old, I swear Paul Cook played for Coventry, but there's so many, isn't there? But that's a tough one, but I quite like that.
Yeah, we might try that next week, but let's not do it with Shrewsbury or Gillingham players because I'll be totally lost.
Yeah. Maybe we should say to our listeners to give them, tweet in with a topic.
Oh, could we do wrestlers?
No.
Oh, in the week before WrestleMania, we're so doing wrestlers.
I'm so doing my research.
Okay, fair enough. Get ready for it.
Okay.
Right. I can't believe we've been talking for so long. Should we briefly mention my programme article from Tuesday night? So for the Coventry game, I had my turn as a guest writer in the programme with my beautiful, beautiful picture.
Yes.
Managed to edit that one very nicely.
Thank you.
To remove any unsightly additions or anything like that. If you didn't see it, I was just arguing in favour of restructuring the Football League to a point. I have very few words to play with to get my full arguments across. It wasn't my best piece of writing, but hopefully it made a few of you think if you read it. Now, my argument was, Stu, that we play too much football in this country, and one of the reasons, or sorry, not one of the reasons, but one of the possible solutions, and we're seeing a lot of it done already, is to start hacking up the FA Cup. Getting rid of replays in certain rounds, maybe moving it to midweek. I didn't want this to happen, of course. I think FA Cup should have replays in every single round. Perhaps I can get away with the final going straight to penalties. It seems daft to have a replay in there, but every other, maybe semi-finals, but they should be away from Wembley. Anyway, I'm off my point. Reducing the fixture list, the league fixture list, seems a sensible thing to do. It would also be very, very handy for many, many football fans and many football clubs at bottom end of League One, League Two, conference level to perhaps not have to suffer some of the ridiculous journeys they're currently having to experience, especially for a midweek game. Now, Scunthorpe away in a couple of weeks for us, for instance, was a scheduled game. That's not been rearranged for FA Cup reasons or anything like that. In the fixture list, in August, Scunthorpe had to travel to us for a midweek game, and we have to travel to Scunthorpe. That's ludicrous, really. And in League 2, it's the same situation. Tuesday night, did you see who Luton were at home to?
No, I'm trying to think on the top of my head now who it was.
Hartlepool.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, a few seasons ago, we got Hartlepool away on a Tuesday night in a league fixture, a regularly scheduled league fixture. There's no need to be, for fans, it's a nightmare, financially and logistically, and there doesn't really seem a need for it. And I'm sure if Hartlepool, for instance, if we were to regionalise our bottom two divisions, Hartlepool would much enjoy greater away turnouts and probably bigger home turnouts as well, because people are more interested in games against teams that are closer to them, I would imagine. With all due respect, Hartlepool and AFC Wimbledon It's not a fixture that anyone's looking at going, I can't wait for that game. Neither sets of fans care about the other club in any way, do we? Let's be honest. But maybe if you look around the leagues, and, you know, we're not saying these are great and it won't be a perfect solution, but I'm sure fans of Barrow and Lincoln and Gateshead, for instance, would much prefer a midweek trip to Hartlepool than they would one to Torquay or Crawley or Exeter or whoever else.
Yeah, I must admit, I'm just reading. You just sent me your article. I didn't get a chance to read it. I've been absolutely manic, as you can probably imagine. But I think it was going on the same sort of. We were talking about previously, what we have gone through this, and I'm a strong believer. And don't get me wrong, this is from somebody who loves away games. I go to. Not this season, of course, we've discussed many a time. But I love nothing different to me of getting the badge of honour of travelling. I remember doing the famous, well, not famous, but a couple of years ago we had York in the league. We had Exeter in the league on the Tuesday. So we had York on the Saturday, Exeter away on the Tuesday, and then the FA Cup back at York on the following Saturday. So 3 away games in 7 days. And it was that little bit of a badge of honour. I did it. I was knackered. But I did it. But actually, realistically, should you be doing that amount of travelling? Is that I could do it because I was fortunate enough to have the money and the time off work. But realistically, should we be travelling up and down the country in this day and age? We've got clubs that are struggling financially. We've got clubs in the conference that, for our sake, Dover, semi-pro, Dover travelling to Barrow at any time, let alone a Tuesday night, but travelling to Barrow, what is the sense? There was just no sense at all. We've got players in the national conference who deliberately don't go full time because they can't mix their job with the football. Well, let's just go back to regionalised leagues. You know, we could have a regionalised, we could have a League One South, which could be made up of. It probably goes as far as, I don't know, Coventry. I think it would be far, but you'd have your local derbies against your Lutons, your Crawleys, your Leyton Orients. And also you get big attendances because local derbies create rivalry, that sort of thing. I just think it's crazy that we still have, and as you said, Hartlepool travelling to Luton. What's the sense?
What is the sense in that? So that really is the crux of my argument for a lot of reasons. It seems daft, as you say, you summed up perfectly there. At any point in the fixture calendar, why are we enforcing? So the 5th tier of English football, with your Torquays and your Dovers and your Barrows and your Gatesheads and your Lincolns, why? No one could probably answer that question and give you a genuine reason why clubs such as Dagenham, Redbridge and Sutton United are travelling to play Barrow away at the 5th level of English football.
Yeah, I don't know how you do it, but you know, Scotland, for argument's sake, they play. And I know Scotland's a bit different, but don't they play? They play. League football, it splits, doesn't it? It splits at the halfway stage or a certain point, top 6, bottom 6, or whatever they do. Mm-hmm. I don't know. Do you do a Southern? Do you do up to Christmas? I'm just talking out of the box here, but you know, do you do Southern leagues, Northern leagues, and then at a certain point you go right? The top teams in those leagues go into a playoffs for the nationals, very much like what NFL do for American football. You know, you've got the 2 parts of the country, and at the end of it, they come towards a Super Bowl. I don't know. I just think there's so much money. There's so much money wasted through travel and such missed. I would love to, you know, I would love to have local derbies. I'd love to be able to go and say, you know, we're playing Luton one week, we're playing Pompey the week after. Real big games you can get to. You haven't got to take time off work. I just think it's a no-brainer, you know. And look at, you know, the situation we've got on a couple of Tuesdays. We're doing a beanback, aren't we? The club are doing a really good thing where they're beaming back the Scunthorpe game. But Scunthorpe away on a Tuesday night, I've done that. It's ridiculous.
It is. If you disagree with my point of view, if you think there's no need to change up the league system, so basically what we're saying here is that instead of having a 4-division 91, and I've said this to you already, Stu, some of my wording in the programme might have been edited to avoid the club any danger. I did say in the programme that there are 71 legitimate EFL clubs and 1 rogue one. But instead of having I've said 4 divisions of 92 or 3 divisions of 72, we'd go to a 5 division of, I think, 100. So you'd have 5 divisions of 20 teams. Immediately you're taking 6 fixtures off every team's calendar, which is going to be very helpful, especially reducing those midweek fixtures and those long distances. And then at the lower levels, just regionalise it. Have those bottom 40 teams, for example, split into North and South. Of course, it's not going to be perfect. Of course, for teams like ourselves and Plymouth, we'll both be in the southern section. It's still a long journey. You can't avoid that. But at least it would reduce it. And certainly for Plymouth fans, it would cancel out all those ridiculous journeys they have to experience every single season. And probably for many seasons to come, actually. But anyway, enough about that. If you have any thoughts on that, if you agree, disagree, whatever it might be, I think, and yes, Stu, I've just made the decision, breaking news for the podcast, I will put that article on our website as well, in its original form. So if you didn't get a chance to grab a programme, if you went to the game on Tuesday night and not seen it, I shall put it up on our website, 9yrspodcast.org. I might well put your article up as well from the Womble Underground Press. I struggled to get my words out there. They've been very supportive of the podcast in their latest edition. I think it was issue 14.1 or volume 14.1, whatever you say. Article from yourself, from Mark Hendricks as well, and a little advert for us. All very supportive at the WUP of us, and we thank you very much for that, guys, for everyone who works on that. So we might well just whack your article on the website at some point too, for people to have a read about that. It's about youth football and the changes to the loan rules and how our academy products are going to be even more important, or should be even more important, to our squad over the coming seasons. Time for Poley on Go, I think, really.
Cool. I'm reasonably confident after last week's success.
Last couple of weeks, of course, Poley on Go has been played to the tune of some wrestler entrances. It is WrestleMania season, all right? Allow me this. Allow me to indulge myself. So a couple of weeks ago, I think we had John Cena, the 16-time world champion, and then last week, I believe it was Samoa Joe that we were playing Poley on Go to. So this week, I have decided to go for... a little bit of a spoiler here for wrestling fans if you've not seen the Wrestling from Monday yet. But for the new WWE Women's Champion, Bayley, a big favourite of pretty much every WWE fan. If you don't like Bayley, then, well, you're probably some form of outcast in the wrestling community. But anyway, this is her music, and this is Poley on Go. Last week was Hartlepool, wasn't it?
It was.
We were just talking about them. This week it's not Hartlepool.
No, last week was it Southampton last week?
No, I think it was a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
The weeks just fly by, don't
Doesn't
they?
that just show you the ridiculous distances Dominic Poland has to travel for this game?
Yes.
Maybe we should regionalise it. Anyway, first clue, a little bit cryptic. Dominic thinks that looking at the name of this stadium he has ended up at, he expects to see a lot of goals, 4 or maybe even 6.
Northampton Town.
Why did you think Northampton Town?
Because it's called Sixfields.
Oh, very good. But then it doesn't explain the 4.
Oh, well, I didn't think about it. I just thought 6.
Oh, well, okay. Well, it's not Northampton.
Okay.
He has travelled on the tram to get to the stadium. There are certainly no trams around Northampton's ground, or trains, or anything really. Anyway, he's travelled on the tram. He's alighted at the tram stop known as Westwood.
Trams. The trams normally are in Manchester.
And Sheffield. And Birmingham.
Alright, don't spoil it, don't spoil it. But I know we've done a tram journey this season, but Sheffield... I'm not confident. No, I don't know. No, I know Manchester, but there's so many clubs in Manchester, isn't there? So, I don't know, I'm going to go for Bury, for argument's sake.
I think Bury is on a tram stop, but it's not Bury this time, I'm afraid.
Okay.
Good guess, though. Finally, then, well, I do have the anagram clue at the end, but the third clue. This ground is a real mixture of old and new. This is what Dom has observed. He understands that work on the newest stand finally commenced in 2014 after years of being derelict.
Aha! I don't think I was far off the last one, because this is a ground that I gutted that I missed, because it had, if I'm thinking about the ground is correct, the derelict stand was the main stand where the tunnel was, and years ago, from memory, it used to be where they used to go up some stairs. When they used to So when they come down, so when they went off the pitch, they'd come down some stairs. I quite liked the old thing of it, which was Oldham Athletic.
Yay. And the name of their ground, the name of the stadium?
Is Boundary Park.
Yes. Now, do you see the clue, the first cryptic clue? Do you understand it?
That's quite clever.
Thanks.
That's quite... But it's cricket, and I don't like cricket.
No, I don't.
But yeah, that ground I did like. I'm right in saying they used to have that where...
I think they still do.
I
actually think they still do. I think the main stand is actually opposite the new stand, and they come through the centre of it. And,
I sort of, yeah.
I'd have to look at it again, but I'm pretty sure it is the case.
I thought it's just because I'm a bit of a lover of the old grounds, because all the new grounds just basically are the same, aren't they? Do you know what I mean? But I think Oldham, I fell in love with Oldham and wanted to go to Oldham was when they had a plastic pitch and they had them great cup runs with, if I remember up front, under Joe Royal, and Ian Marshall and Andy Ritchie. Do you know, they took apart a lot of good teams. When to be fair, the actual big clubs used to take it seriously and put their first teams out. There you are, eh?
Interesting. Well, the anagram, for those that are interested, Randy Oak Burp.
Oh, I don't know. Yeah, I probably would have got that because Roundy Boundary. Yeah, I probably would have got that.
We'd have got there in the end. But anyway, that's Poe and Go for this week. Next week, Millwall and Oxford, Stu, are in FA Cup ties.
They are.
Saturday, representing League One against Leicester and Middlesbrough, I believe, respectively. Interestingly, they must have been scheduled to play each other in the league anyway, because there are still 11 games in League One on Saturday, the picks of which, perhaps negatively of me, I have chosen as Chesterfield versus Bury and Swindon versus Oldham. Big battles at the bottom of the table that can influence ourselves, depending on how we get on at Shrewsbury, a stadium I don't think we've scored at yet, which is interesting because we've not scored away from home in the league since October, so you know exactly what we're going to do on Saturday. I guarantee we will score away from home on Saturday. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Put money on it. We will score on Saturday. I'm not saying we're going to win or even get a point, but we will score.
Well, yeah, it was interesting. I was listening to BBC Radio, and they have some really good interviews, by the way, on the BBC Radio London, but they also gave a stat that I don't think Neil Ardley liked too much. Well, he knew the stat we hadn't scored away from home since Peterborough, but when he was told it was over 12 hours, it didn't go down too well, I don't think, with him. But yeah, over 12 hours now since we scored away from home. Yeah, that's in that. Of course, it's got to be something like that because we've, but I think it's like 7 games without scoring. I think we are.
So Shrewsbury themselves have picked up. I think they actually ended up on the losing side of their game with Peterborough, was it not, on Tuesday night? But generally their form has picked up. Won at Scunthorpe last week, for instance.
Yeah, beating Scunthorpe. Yeah, Scunthorpe. And that was a good win, actually, at Scunthorpe, because Scunthorpe would not failed to score at home for quite a long time, actually. So that was quite a record that went as well. But it's slow, isn't it, with the teams hitting form. But, it's like anything. We can't keep relying on other teams to hit bad form. We've got to start doing it ourselves. And, we'll just have to see how we go. But we've got a lot of games coming up. Gillingham away after that. Then Swindon at home, then Gillingham away. We've got a lot of games coming up.
And we need to get some points on the board. So from those 2 games coming up, Stu, how many points do you think we shall take? Let's say, what would you accept from those 2 games? What do you think we're going to get?
I'd probably accept 2 points, for being truthful. A point a game, I could live with that. That would keep us roughly where we need to be to stay out of relegation trouble. I have a sneaky feeling that we are going to... I think we're going to lose to Shrewsbury. I don't think we're going to win now. I think that'll be about a 1-0 defeat. And I've got a feeling, because of the history of the Gillingham games, I can't... And I've probably just jinxed it now, so please forgive me for all those challenging Gillingham. But we just don't do 0-0s with Gillingham. The history of the games at their ground, I can see there being goals. I can see us winning there at Gillingham.
Interesting. So I have guaranteed a goal at Shrewsbury, and you pretty much guaranteed a win at Gillingham. So next week's show, we could be reading out all the abuse we receive on social media over the coming week. But anyway, we hopefully take some points from those games. Well, aside from that, I think that might actually bring us to the end of this week's show.
Brilliant.
We've done well. Before we go, we do want to make mention of, first of all, these fine gentlemen. This is their track, Sorry, which is available now It is available for download on iTunes now, so you can purchase that, and we recommend you do. For more information, go to thesefinegentlemen.com. Look them up on Twitter as well, at thesefgentlemen. Also, if you're on Twitter, follow us at 9YRS Podcast, Instagram at 9YRS Podcast, and Facebook. Look us up on there. Join our group on there. Lots of chat going on, lots of updates from all our fixtures as well. So have a look. And as I mentioned there, 9yrspodcast.org. A couple of articles will be posted for your perusal over the coming week. Other than that, thank you very much, Stu, for joining me this week.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for listening. Join us next week, where we're going to be joined by Hope Akpan to discuss Blackburn's push to avoid relegation from the Championship. We'll see you then.
I've got a job to do, and I'm so focused on what goes on here that I can't worry about what people say about me. I can't worry about what people think of me. I can't worry about who stood there. I can't worry about that. That's an element that is not in my control.